Alright guys, so good morning. This is meant to be an overview of what you should have read in your textbook to help us save time so that we can do more of practice in class. So I'll just quickly go over what I hope that you took note of as you read. I'm assuming that you've read. If you haven't read, that's not going to help us. But I hope you read later. So I'll just draw your attention to some things across the section that I think will help you. Now, in this first unit is on critical essays. This applies to students who have chosen to study only one poet. So they would have read about 20 something poems by the same poet, unlike in your own case where you are reading 28 different poems from 28 different writers. But there are still some things here that are relevant, so I'll just point them out. So the first thing here is there are some key concepts that apply to every poem that you're going to analyze, every single one. Now, you need to know how to analyze language, form, structure, genre, context, style, interpretation, and critical approaches also. So, if you approach your analysis from the standpoint of, okay, I need to account for all of these things, you would definitely have more to write. You will be forced to pay more attention to, how those things, the effects those things create. So that's the first thing. The next thing I want to point out also is that there should be a main argument in every essay you write. So this is a sample essay. There are many sample essays in this, throughout the textbook, and particularly in this section. So I hope that you read them. The more sample essays you read, the more you know what you should and should not do, and the more you would see examples of, the ways to analyze structure, context, and all of those things. But here now, there is a specific argument that drives the entire essay. Now, this person began by saying, it cannot be denied that Keats' poems have a strong sense of sadness running through them. Illness, death, the impermanence of happiness, and especially beauty. So these are themes which underlie everything that Keats wrote. Now, bear in mind that this is a claim. A claim in the sense that someone else may disagree. So it's his own opinion. But he has written it with the objective of now convincing your reader in the rest of the essay. So that's what you should be doing. This is his thesis now, or his main argument. Right. So your own essays too should have a very clear, well-defined argument that the rest of the essay should now be, providing evidence or providing support for. So this is, a good example of how to do that, and I hope you do that in your own essays too. So I'll just moving on. Yeah, you can have different ways of arranging your essay, but I'll look for more relevant examples as I go along. Now, you can also have multiple interpretations. That's what I mean by a different argument here. So in the same essay, you can consider two or more different perspectives or ways of reading the same poem. It's not a crime to interpret a poem one way and then say, okay, it can also be interpreted this way in the same essay. That shows that you've actually read it over and over and you understand that there are, many possible perspectives on the same poem. It will strengthen your essay. Now you now have sample essays. Now this one is a sample of what not to do. It may look very good to you, right? It just goes to show you that that there's still a lot of work to do. This essay will probably look very good to you because compared to your own essays, it looks like what you can, what you would aspire to. But the fact is that it is not a very strong essay, as you will see from the comment here. This is a better essay down here, but you still see one or two things that the person could have done better. So there's no perfect essay, right? But the more you read samples, the more you pay attention to what you are writing, the better you would get. So please read those sample essays. Another sample essay here. Moving on now. Passage questions. So here they're showing you how to, attack questions where you have the actual poem on the paper. Usually the first question is an essay question, but here now that the focusing on how to answer passage-based questions, but still this is still on a particular poet. So just look at the sample essays and see what you can take from there. Now, of course, you have different ways of analyzing, different ways of structuring your essay. Sorry. And then there are some keywords also that you will learn from here that can actually, really, really strengthen your essay also. For example, if you are aware that a poet, uses a format of question and answer in their poem, by presenting opposing voices, and you now use this word dialectical to describe it in your essay, that already stands you out, because not many students will be able to do that, right? So technical words that are not very common are a good way to strengthen your essay. Moving on, sample essay again with comments. They're probably the strongest things that that you can get from this text. Now, answering passage questions on poetry. Now, they use an example of Chaucer here. Chaucer's English is not the kind of English that you'll be able to understand. I'm not trying to limit you, but I'm just saying that it's very old English. Let me show you two lines, and one I saw he would never find. So reading on this cursed book all night. Now you can tell that this is even worse than Shakespeare's English. So English has evolved over time to what you have now, right? But they still expect you to be able to, do enough research to be able to understand this kind of English and analyze it. But luckily for us, we're not doing that. So I'll move on to something more recent. Oh, okay, before I go on, now two methods that you can use to approach your answers: essay plan 1, essay plan 2. Please read them and see how you can use them to plan your own essays. But more relevant, let me move on to this particular poem. Yeah, so this is modern poetry, right? And I think most of your own poems are, they fall under this category. So this is going to be very helpful for you. Now, what I really want to draw your attention to is the plan here. Now, look at this table. This table, I think is the key to opening the door to analysis, because it will actually make you plan properly. Now, they've broken down, key elements of the poem. This here is the subject and situation. Subject in terms of the general topic of the poem. Is it about love or death or rejection or something? And then the situation, basically the context. Right. Now, if you're able to quickly take note of this, right, and then ask yourself points to consider. These are general questions that you can use to, make short notes, and then you're already thinking of your own personal response, your own informed response that discusses effects. You're already, halfway to an A star. I'm not exaggerating. Down here you have structure, you have imagery and figures of speech, you have diction, versification, rhythm, rhyme, sound effects, and so on and so forth. You have tone and atmosphere, theme, and then where do your sympathies lie. So if you are able to do this kind of plan for any poem that you write, I promise you would, first of all, you will be forced to look at the poem over and over again to find answers to this. So you basically spend more time thinking about the poem, which is basically the most important thing to do when analyzing. Do your thinking ahead, do a proper plan, and then you would have a very good essay, or it works all the time, right? So if you have this kind of table where you've already written down, key points that you're going to use in your analysis, you would have a lot to write. You would not have to now keep repeating the same ideas over and over, or you won't, or getting stuck and stuff like that happens frequently. All of that will not happen because you already have a very well laid out plan with almost every question considered, with almost every element taken care of. and so all of this will factor into your poem, into your analysis, and you'll have something that would get you a very good score. So what I want us to do in class today is to apply this table to one of our own poems. So we'll decide on a poem that we'll do together in class, and we'll try and draw this table. Everybody will do theirs individually, and then we'll compare and maybe come up with one that that combines all of our ideas. And if you guys want to do different poems, that's also okay. But just bear in mind that in class today, we're going to do this table for one poem, right? So there are also other, and this shows you how to put all of that together into an essay. Things you can comment on. Have more poems and more sample analysis. So I sincerely hope you read this textbook, and I hope that those things I pointed out, you paid attention to them, and the ones I didn't point out to, you also took note of them. I believe that if you practice what you've been advised to do here, your essays will take a turn for the much better. So see you in class. Before our next class, before our class on Thursday, I would like for you guys to read the prose section, so that by next week we are also done with the drama section, and then we can now just keep writing and writing until even we are confident. We'll get to a point where I won't need to tell you whether your essay is good or not. Even you will know if your essay has match up to the standards of the kind of essays that they've given you here as samples. So see you in class.